Welcome to today's episode of Circling the Dream. We're going to be talking to Graham Kirkman today, a freelance mixer working in the UK, primarily across factual programming, but he's covered most genres in his 29 years of working in sound. He's going to tell us about some of his favourite sounds. We'll agree on lots of things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But disagree on others.
You arsehole, you...
We'll get his in-depth thoughts on audio.
I don't know.
And how he feels being a freelancer.
We were just left to die.
He has some interesting little stories about mistaken identity.
Oh, shit, he's a mixer. I thought he was cleaning up.
And the client stories that you just love to hear.
This guy's an a-hole.
And last but not least, he's going to give you his tips on how to make a great ragu.
Slow.
So without any further ado, let's crack on, let's get stuck in, speak to Graham, see what wise and wonderful stories he has for us today. I hope you enjoy this one. It's a good one. Thank you very much for doing this. It's very kind of you to give your time. So maybe you could just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about how long you've been working in the sound industry, etc.
Okay, my name's Graham Kirkman. I reckon I've been in the sound industry for, I tried to work this out the other day, 29 years now. Not as a mixer, so obviously I started as an audio assistant, did that for a couple of years, and then the usual thing happened. It was Robin Fellows. One day I went into work and he'd phoned in sick. Robin was never sick, but he'd phoned in sick and they just went, "You're doing the mix." The usual drop in massively at the deep end. I can still remember that session to this day. It was absolutely terrifying. I really didn't have a clue. Sort of knew roughly what I was doing, but not really. Somehow got through it. Don't know how.
Can you remember who the client was?
No, I can't remember, but I can remember the face. I can remember the suite and I can remember everything. It was on a Logic 3 on the old 16-track audio file, yeah. But anyway, it was just he'd done most of it, so I was just going through final this and final that. But you do get dumped into the deep end, don't you? Sometimes a good way to learn. Yeah, and then I went back to being an assistant for a while, and then I think it was about 6 months later that they made me a full-time mixer because a new series came in and they wanted someone to do it all. So I got that, which was a good way to learn actually, and it was an audio vision, so it was a whole new thing. So because I sort of learned it on the job. It was totally different from audiophile, really different. And I had an O2R mixing desk. I remember that.
Yeah,
floppy disks for the automation. And then, and so I got really good at it after doing this 52-part series, this was 20 odd years ago. It's still going today, that series. And then I got to the end of the series and I knew Audio Vision inside out, and then they pulled it. I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're getting this new thing called Pro Tools." Really? Anyway, yeah, so I've been mixing and track laying and whatever for 26 years, I think. God.
Wow.
A long time.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. I haven't got another 26 years in me, though. 2 to 6 years.
So how did you were an audio assistant, how did you break in? I mean,
So before that, I've always been interested in audio, so I was in bands for years and years, and I always wanted to be a musician. Well, I'm a musician, but I always wanted to be a successful musician. That didn't work. But and I was in bands. We got signed. I did tours in Scotland, but there must be for every one band that's signed, there must be 100,000 that aren't, that you never hear about, and we were just one of them. Nothing, we had radio play, but nothing came of it. That all fell apart, and I still wanted. Then by that point, I was an electronic service engineer. I still wanted to be in music somehow, so I worked in recording studios for a while. Nothing came of that. And then I thought, well, the next thing's TV sound. So I did an HNC and then an HND and wrote away to, I was still in Scotland at the time, wrote away to tons of places in London. And I think I only got something like 3 replies, and 2 of them were no thanks, and one was, we're looking for an audio assistant, and that was Nats.
Yeah.
And I got the job. But it was, at least it wasn't starting as a runner. You were just a runner, but you were a runner just for the audio department. So you could always get in and see the stuff, try and learn the kit in your own time, stay there when you wanted, and it was great for that.
So you did a HNC and an HND. So was that a formal audio
Not
qualification?
Well, audio was involved, but it was HNC and HND, television and radio production. That's what it was. So it was more on the side of how to make a TV show, how to write a treatment, so it wasn't based in audio at all, but had audio elements. So they had an audio bit at one point, an element bit, I can't remember. And then at the end of the year, we had to produce our own whatever TV show or advert or whatever we wanted. But obviously it had to have audio, and everyone gave their audio thing to me. By that point, it was obvious to everyone, including the tutors, that I had no interest in making TV shows, but I had every interest in mixing them. So I mixed everybody's. I remember that they had like a little recording studio thing in there. I did absolutely everybody's because nobody wanted to. They just did not want to do it.
It's interesting. I mean, a lot of the guys that I've been talking to for this podcast have come from the music world, and it really does seem to be, a lot of the successful mixers do have a very musical background. I think obviously the two do go together.
And yet they're miles apart in some ways, aren't they?
They are, but I think
funny.
I mean, even just listening to frequencies and stuff, it's quite a musical task, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's I mean, you didn't do a formal audio education, but I mean, how did you learn everything you know about it then?
On the job. Really, I mean, I had a really good understanding of audio, but I had no clue what a Logic desk was or what a
of course.
I had no clue. I'd never seen one. I had no clue what audio file was. So and when I started, as I said, I was a audio runner, and I just stayed in the place that I stayed in because I got a flat in Walthamstow or somewhere like that, Leytonstone, and it was horrible. I hated it. So I would sleep at work. I just lived at Nats. In those days, I don't think you could do it. At least, in fact, you couldn't, could you? But in those days, no one cared. I just they had a couch, so I would sleep there 4 nights a week, go to my flat at the weekend when I really had to because I hated it. Wow. And so I would stay up. The mixers would finish at 6, and I'd work from 6 till 12, reading the manual and mucking about. So I learned it by myself because I just didn't want to be. I didn't mind being a runner, actually. It was all right, but the money was rubbish, and I knew I couldn't live on that future, so I thought, no, I want to mix. So I was learning it on my own.
But things like EQ or compression or stuff like that, I mean, about routing and such like, you just learned that as you went then?
I think compression, EQ and stuff, I've always thought that was obvious. I don't know if I learned it or it's just, I mean, isn't that just obvious? You turn the one up, no, that's not it. You adjust the frequency to get you turn it up. I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
Compression isn't obvious and limiting. I think you have to work them out. Do you know, I can't remember how I worked that out. Maybe I just started with whatever Robin had, because it wasn't templates like Pro Tools then. It was built into the desk. So I presume I started with that and went, oh, what's that doing? Oh, what happens if I adjust this? Oh, that sounds horrible. Whatever. And I can't remember ever learning it properly.
But I mean, nowadays, most of the kids that turn up looking for jobs have come out of a college and they've done something like that, And do you think that's something that's worthwhile, or I mean, what's your opinion on? Because they're paying a lot of money for these courses.
I know. I think that those kids that turn up for a job, let's say at your place, are at the stage of when I was their age or at the same stage of their career, just starting, they know hell of a lot more about the technical side of it than me, or they must do, because I knew virtually nothing and made it up as I went along, like we said, with the EQ and the compression. They must know all that. Oh God, I would hope. And much more aside, but does it help? Don't know if it helps you get a job. I mean, it depends on, I guess I've just not kept up with that. I don't own a facility, but you'd probably be better to answer it. But are facility owners and head of audios looking for that? If they are, then yeah, of course it helps. If they're not, then no. I think it depends on the head of audio. Some of them will be like, I don't care if you've been to uni. Can you work with a client? Because if you can't do that, who cares how good you are at dissecting a compressor? So
I mean, I guess the question that I always think to myself is, if a kid comes in from school and spends 3 years working with us, are they in a better or worse place than the one who goes to university for 3 years and then joins us? And you've got to say, it's the one from school that's
yeah.
Because they got real life experience. They've been earning money rather than spending money. Now, of course, they haven't had the kind of excitement and joy of a university life.
Also, if they can last that 3 years, because they won't be mixing on day one, they'll be making tea, and all the crap that you got to do. And can you stay late and do that? Oh, and we'll pay you nothing for it. Really? If they can get through all that by 3 years, so maybe it won't be 3 years. Maybe they'll do a year of horribleness before they even get a chance to do a voiceover. You know that they mean it. If they're still there after a year, I would imagine 9 out of 10 will have left and gone somewhere else where they can, because they either don't have the. You have to have that. You really have to have the dedication. I don't think that's changed from when I was, because I didn't obviously go. No one's going to go and mix straight away with a client because you don't know what you're doing. So you have to have the dedication to do all the boring donkey work, all the boring stuff that. Because in my day it was conformed, so we used to, as an audio, because you don't have them anymore, not really, but in the old days it was a floppy disk with a EDL and tons of tapes. I remember reams of tapes down the side of, all numbers, roll one, and it was like EDL, roll one, okay, take it in, beat them, wait for it to conform. And that would take, I'm trying to remember, but I think a 60-minute program would take about 4 hours maybe, and there'd always be things at the end where you couldn't find 3 of the rolls were misnamed, you had to work it out and blah. So that was all done overnight because you couldn't do it during the day. So you would be doing you'd be doing a day shift that would end at 4 a.m. It was a killer, but I loved it at the time. It was exciting.
No, that's
so you've got to have that. You've got to have that drive to do it, to do all the rubbish before you get to mixing with, mixing with the stars or whatever you want to call it. What they think's going to happen.
Circling the dream. So look, in your 26 years, you've obviously seen a lot, done a lot. What do you think? Having met so many mixers and such like, what's the most important quality in a sound professional?
Time management. 100% time management. That's what it is, especially now, more than ever, and it's only going to get worse with AI if it doesn't completely stop. It just, there's even less time now to do the stuff that we had to do 20 years ago and make it sound as good as it. So 20 odd years ago, I remember the rushes, for the most part, sounding really pristine because everything had a sound man. And they gave a crap. Now there's never a sound man not for daytime and not even for some good docs and stuff. And if the sound man is there, he's treated second class and never gets the mic where he wants it, or there's big wide shots and he can't get the mic in. And so you need to be able to know you've got 8 hours to do it, and you have to have finished it by the 8 hours. You can't be 6 hours in and still in the opening going, well, the opening sounds brilliant. Yeah, but you've got 2 hours left to finish. But that's what you see a lot of with young guys though. You go in after an hour and you go, how's it going? They're like, I'm doing really good. Listen to the opening. You go, that sounds really good. What about the rest of it? Nah, I haven't touched that yet. I've just spent the last 2 hours on the opening. Yeah, mate, that's not going to work because you've got 6 hours. Do the maths. So you have to know what you can leave.
That's a specifically documentary thing because, documentaries have always been hard shows to mix in half the time that every other genre gets.
Yeah, I can't speak for drama. It's not something I do. I presume dramas are from the very few drama mixers I speak to. They all say their time's getting cut down as well. But obviously now it's suddenly instead of stereo and it's now Atmos, so they've got even more to do. But for everything on the drama, so top end docs right down to daytime TV, I think that is the deal.
It's funny because I'm doing a presentation at a film festival this week about documentary sound. I spent quite a lot of time thinking about it. And the truth is, it's probably we've both done all sorts of things, but the most complicated and the most challenging thing is doing a badly recorded doc in a short period of time and having to get a product out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it just seems to be definitely slowly but surely getting, like the time seems to be getting less and less. The amount of clients that I now deal with and I've noticed it more since I've gone freelance because I work with a lot of people, not just one house anymore, so it's not the same thing, the same ethos all the way down. It's different ones, and some are just like, you've got 8 hours to do this, and you open up the AF and you're just like, man, I can't do this. Well, I can do it in 8 hours, but it will be way below what I would like to give you. And then you have to make that decision. Do I do extra hours for free? Or do I do it in the time they want and miss out the noise reduction? I think clients, because the noise reduction stuff's so good, especially in the last year, it's gone crazy, all the AI noise reduction. It's just gone through the roof. Yeah. Like, absolutely, for virtually, Goyo is free, I think. It's still free, and it's amazing. You've got all those things. And so the clients expect that, but I think they think it's just instant, but you have to, every single clip has to be done. You can't run it live, so it just takes ages, and I don't know, we seem to have less time for it, but if you don't do it, I think clients are like, why does that sound really bad? Can you not noise reduce it? Yeah, you can noise it. I can, but you didn't give me the time for it. You can't say that in the mix, so you're stuck doing it all in the prep.
And do you think the clients do hear it?
Some definitely don't. Some don't. That's for sure. Yeah. But you don't know that at the time you're pre-mixing it, do you? That's a risk to take.
No, that's true.
I'll just risk they don't, and then they turn up and can you do it? And then you're stuck there for hours going, should we all just go out while we render it? Yeah, it's difficult.
Circling the dream. So, what's the best bit of advice that anyone ever gave you?
I think it's just stick at it. Because it's when I was doing it earlier, I loved all of it because I was young and I was excited to do it. I loved every bit of it. I actually enjoyed the late nights. It made me feel kind of special. It was really weird. I loved doing it. Then as you get older and you do more of it, you don't particularly want to do those late nights. But there will come times when you're doing a series where after episode 6 and you've got 50 of them, it's not quite the same as exciting as it was in episode 1. And after episode 40, you just want to tear your hair out. But you just have to stick with it because better times will come. Different jobs will turn up. Circling the dream. One of the good things about when I was starting at Nats was there was times when I didn't have much to do as an assistant. You come in early, you'd set everything up, blah, blah, blah. Then the dub would start and there could be hours when you'd literally nothing to do. So I would go to the other departments, sitting with the online, sitting CARs. So I would always say to people who want to learn audio, learn it all. I mean, audio should be your principal thing, but don't think that means you don't need to know how the online works. You should know how the online works. You should know how it gets to you. You should know how the offline works. You should know how it gets to you, because then if things go wrong, you can at least piece together an idea of, well, maybe the offline editor didn't do this or whatever. And it's good to know. It's good to know the whole
workflow.
Yeah, you don't need to know it as deep as your audio workflow, but you should know it. You shouldn't just ignore it.
No, I agree.
Circling
the dream. So, look, I know, and everybody knows, that you're a bit of a gear monster.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
But yeah, I am. But gear monster, you say gear monster, I just hear money pit. That's what I hear in my head. That's what it is. But yeah, true.
So, do you try everything you can get your hands on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Always. I always do.
You do, don't you? You like it?
I do. I love it. It's why whenever I'm on a kind of chat with a bunch of dub mixers on a WhatsApp thing, and whenever a new version of Pro Tools comes out, I just always get the first message. Graham, what's it like? They always just, because I'm always the first one to put it in. I'll have it on the instant it comes out. I've tried it. And they're like, nobody else wants to do it first. So they always go to me, Graham, what's it like? I always get that thing straight away. So yeah, I'm always... I'm always upgrading this and buying this, and I've got quite a chunky studio setup as well. But
yeah, you have. Yeah, is that just because you just enjoy new kit?
I think it
must
is.
Be.
I'm like that with all technology in life. So my house is full of cameras and sensors, and I just like all that stuff, electronic this and all sorts of stuff. I like that, so it goes along. I think that just goes into my my professional life as well. But also, some of it's just been a waste of money, and some of it's been no, it has. Some of it I bought plugins that I've never used, just absolute crap. I bought them thinking that'll be good. I don't even try them. I just buy them. I'm like, that's rubbish. But like I've got a 24 fader S1 but people are like, wow, that's overkill. And I'm like, no, I use all 24 faders. So I use them all the time. They're always there.
Yeah.
I've got a Red 16 line, but I also bought the R1 to go with it. And people are like, wow, why'd you do that? Because I use it. It's there, right there. I can turn my mic up. I use it all the time. My Red 16's hidden in the back of the studio in the rack. So I always buy, most of the stuff I use. It's plugins that I've bought. I think out of all the gear, if you count plugins as gear, that's the stuff I've wasted the most money on. I've bought a few plugins that I look on. You know, when you open up your iLock thing and you're like, what? Have I got all that?
I know.
What's that one? I've never even used that.
But I don't think anything's wasted money if it allows you to forget about the kit and get on with your work.
I suppose. Yeah. But I have got some that I've literally never used. I've used once and gone, that's rubbish, and then never used it. So that was a waste of money. But I bought. So everyone was raving about the new Acon DX Extractor 1.5, whatever it's called, the other day, and I was like, oh, I've got to try that. And I went to buy it, and it said, "You've already bought this." I'd bought it a year ago and forgot I'd bought it.
Oh, no.
So things like that, and it is brilliant. But it was on my lock. I went, oh, whatever it is. I found it anyway, and I installed it, and it just worked. And I was like, oh shit,
Was it good?
That? Oh, yeah.
If you need to take a plug-in to your desert island, what are you taking then?
Yeah, I've got a few. I wrote them down. I've got a few. But at the moment, Acorn Extract 1.5. The 1.0 wasn't very good, but 1.5, my God, never had anything like it. I don't know
I've
how.
got to get that then.
It's not even expensive. Autolines, Sound Radix, is it? Autoline Post.
Nope. Haven't tried that.
How does anybody work without that? I haven't got a clue. When you get those
What's
it puts everything in sync. So when you get those like I did Coach Trip or something last year, and I did all the apps, and it was it Coach Trip or whatever it was, Coach Trip Special or something. You get literally 30 mics of, you just run it through, go and get a cup of coffee, come back, and they're all perfectly in sync. I don't know how I'm thinking back, how did I ever mix anything like that before? I love Pentio 16 Pro. Don't know how.
Yeah, that's good.
God, I don't know how I'd work without that for Atmos stuff. And then the last thing, anything and everything by Krotos. I've got all their plugins. Absolutely love them.
By who?
Krotos, Scottish. Studio's the new one, so Krotos Studio. I've been using that a lot. That's brilliant. It's just you just have to look it all up for sound design. All for sound design stuff. And I suppose Matchbox as well. Just thought of that. Couldn't live without Matchbox for reconforms.
Oh, okay.
Who's it? Cargo Cult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matchbox.
No, I know the guys love that, don't they?
No, it's brilliant.
Studios.
It gets you out of sticky situations a lot when the editor just, even if they send you an EDL, it's never right. I don't know what they think they're doing.
What are your thoughts on AI and how it might affect the industry?
It'll definitely affect it. It already is affecting the industry. I got a job 2 weeks ago. Well, anyway, and the editor I was listening through doing his mix, and the audio was really, really loud background noises and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll sort that out when I do my other pass. And then I was switching to the guide, listening to what they'd done with the music, and then I realised that the dialogue was clean as hell in the guide, and I went, what? So it turns out that the guy had ran it through that Adobe, whatever it was, but he'd gone crazy with it. It was super strong. All sounded like sounded like this, recorded with a freaking 416.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he'd gone too strong in places. But the thing at the point of the story is it leaves you with that decision as prepping and mixing. What do they've heard that the whole time. So the clients will want some noise reduction in this. How far do I go? He'd gone too far. Stuck with that thing of where do I go with this?
Yeah.
So they're already starting to do this. And I don't see it being too long, a few years maybe, before we start losing jobs as mixers. Not dramas and not high-end docs, but daytime stuff. The machine will do it. Because the client doesn't care. They care much more about money than result. And as long as the dialogue's audible, they just don't care. Because they just want the money. So if they can get AI to mix their whole episode for 100 quid or whatever, less than that, 50 or nothing, whatever it costs, rather than having to pay a mixer, mix rates, they just won't pay the mixer. And I just think that's where it'll go. I think those sort of programs will start getting, our programs clients mix online, online, don't they? So it'll just get bigger. I also think AI will start editing stuff as well, so rough cuts, and then they'll just get the editor in to do the final cut.
We'll all be retired by then, though, won't
Well, that's what I'm praying. I'm praying it's at that point. I'm praying it's at the point that I'm glad I'm not a young man doing this in seriousness, because I don't see there's a future in it in 30 years' time. It'll be no way. AI will be doing everything apart from dramas and stuff, which I think always needs the human touch.
Circling the dream. So look, how long have you been freelance now?
3 years?
3 years?
Is it
Is
3
that
years?
all?
Maybe it's more.
No, it must be more than that.
4 years? Is it? I don't know.
I thought it was about 10 years.
No, it's not 10 years.
Tell me a bit about the difference between working in a facility and working freelance, and the stresses of both types of jobs.
Yeah.
And
They both have the positives and negatives. So if you do the full time, the positive is you're guaranteed to get that money every month. That's nice. That's a nice positive. You don't have to worry about you're getting a monthly wage, and that's great. Also, the upsides are meeting with people. So every day you're meeting with someone. You can have a chat in the morning over coffee. Then you get to work and you have You have a lunch break, you maybe have 5 minutes with someone. That's really nice to be able to do all that. Sick pay, obviously. Holiday pay. All the holiday, you don't get any. So as a freelancer, so they're the positives. The downsides of working for a facility is the hours. It's ridiculous. You're just expected to never end till the job finishes. So that was the amount of times I'd finish at 4 or 5 in the morning. Too old for that now. Funny thing is, if you ever ask anyone, freelance, and they go, "Oh, the advantage of that, you're your own boss." No, you're not. I don't know. I used to think that. I thought I'm my own boss. No, you're not. The clients are your boss because you still have to work for someone. So you're not your own boss. Oh, you can just take a week off. No, you can't. How are you going to take a week off? I need the money. So I might not get a job for another 8 weeks, so I've got to do that week. So you find you never turn it. You just don't turn anything down. I thought it would be much more like, I'll take the Wednesday off and blah, blah, blah. And I have done that occasionally, but it's usually when I've got no work. So I'm not taking it off. I've got no choice. So I have much more time off as a freelancer, much more. And it works out well for me because I'm older and that's what I kind of want now. But then you have much less money. And also when COVID hit, I got no help whatsoever from the government. Not a thing. Yeah. Nothing. Not a penny. Nothing. We just ignored freelancers. We were just left to die. Still prefer being freelance, even when now the times are quite bad at the moment. Still prefer it because, something will come up at some point.
The other thing is, I think everybody in facilities was looking at guys like you and thinking, God, they're doing really well. So they all left their jobs in facilities and went freelance. And now there's double the number of freelancers,
You just have to hope that your reputation, to some degree, comes through. That's the downside of being freelance as well, as the freelance paranoia. You do get that. And I'm not a paranoid type person, but everyone gets it. Like, you do a job and then you don't hear from that client ever again. And you think, was that me? And you can't help yourself but think that. It usually never is. But you start to think, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Circling the dream. How much longer are you going to carry on?
Till I'm 58, I hope. No, as soon as possible is the honest answer. But for me, it all just depends on factors and stuff. But there's a point where I'll have to stop doing this. I mean, I spend a full day doing this now. My back is wrecked. My back has always been wrecked, but now I've got to the point where everything hurts at the end of a working day. Partly that's age, and partly that is my back and stuff. So there's only so much long. And also, who wants a 65-year-old coming in and doing a mix when now you go in and everyone's 20? The director's 20, everyone's 20, and you just feel so old. So I can't imagine they want somebody who's 65 coming in. Even if with all that experience, they must be like, God, there's that old guy. Oh shit, he's a mixer. I thought he was cleaning up. So yeah.
Surely it depends on what your work sounds like, doesn't it?
It does, but they don't know that when you turn up, do they? You've convinced them by the end of the day, but at the start they've not had a frame of it. But yeah, that's a bit in my head. I'm exaggerating slightly, but yeah. So hopefully I'll retire at 65. I don't see how I could do this much longer.
What do you think you'll do after that?
Sit on a beach somewhere and I want to move to Italy. So hopefully me and Mim, that's our plan.
Circling the dream. So look, I mean, obviously you've seen a lot, you've done a lot. What advice would you give a young person trying to get into sound production?
I would say, like everything these days, get tons of stuff that you've done yourself up on social media. Get posting stuff, get it all up on social media, and that's your CV. And then when you go for the interview or the meeting with the head of whoever, and they say, have you any audio thing? You go, yeah, look at all the stuff I've done on Instagram. Look at all the stuff I've got on YouTube. Look at all. Not only does it show that you can do it, but it shows that you're willing to do it. Imagine doing that and not getting paid. For me, I'd be just like, wow, you're right up the top of the list of candidates. You've done everything that no one asked you to do. You've done it off your own back. You must be really keen to get this job, rather than someone that just comes in with a bit of paper and a CV and goes, I went to uni. What have you done though? Nothing.
Choosing places to work. I mean,
go right to that's what I did. Right to everyone. Just right to all of them.
It can be difficult to change tracks though, can't it?
It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. So,
but I mean, I've got to say, from my own point of view, having been lucky enough to own a facility and being able to pick and choose the jobs I do, I've kind of managed to work across pretty much all of them. And I've got to be honest and say that the most technically challenging and probably the most creatively rewarding has been documentary.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
It is.
There's some, I guess there's truth in that because of the quality of the audio you get from the start is theoretically, you would imagine, worse than a drama, drama mixes. Surely that's going to be better.
No, they have proper people recording proper voices out there.
Otherwise you get fired, don't you? You can't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the nature of documentary.
Yeah.
If you're running down the street with someone shooting a gun at you, you're not going to say, "We didn't get the sound for that. Can we do it again, please?"
Yeah,
it's like...
that's true. That's true.
Circling the dream. Okay, so just talking about sound heroes. Do you have anyone that you kind of think, "Wow, they're"?
I don't have a single sound hero because I don't have any interest in looking at people's names and stuff like that. But I do have. But I think my overall sound heroes are guys that work on Hollywood films. I don't know how they do it. I've literally got. You'd think it was the same job, but I have no idea how you go from nothing to 400, 500 tracks or whatever the hell it is and mix it all together. I just don't know. How do they even do it? I've got no clue. So I wouldn't even know where to start. So
At the beginning.
I wouldn't know where the beginning was. That's the problem.
Circling the dream. Atmos. You've got Atmos in your studio, haven't you? Mm-hmm. How much more time does it take you to do something in Atmos? And do you like it?
I love it. How much more time does it take? It does take more time. Wow. It depends on the job. If it's a sci-fi thing in Atmos compared to a sci-fi thing in stereo, the difference is bigger than if it's a talking head in Atmos and a talking head in stereo. In fact, there's virtually no difference. But can you imagine doing a sci-fi and just panning it up and right into end and not caring? You can't do that. So it depends on
you did a horror feature or something recently.
Yeah, I did.
Was that in Atmos as well?
Yeah, we did that in Atmos.
So that must have been great fun, no?
It was good fun. It was. I enjoyed doing that. And I did go crazy with the Atmos. But that was good. That was good fun. I'm doing it.
What's it called?
I can't remember. What the hell was it called? I'm looking for I had a poster of it somewhere. Oh, it'll come back to me.
We'll put a little tagline up at the end of your interview. It's kind of.
I can't remember what it's called.
Circling the dream. What's the piece of work that you're most proud of over the 20-odd years?
I think it's that when I did it at Halo, the David Attenborough Natural History Museum, Alive 3D. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
God, I loved working on that. Loved it. It was one of the few things I worked on that made me think. I know it wasn't drama, but it made me think. I'd quite enjoy doing drama because there was tons of Foley, tons of effects. So in that sense, it was like a drama. And and I treated it like a drama, mixed it like a drama. Yeah, I loved doing that. That was a brilliant show.
Did we get an award for that?
Mm-hmm. We got nominated for a BAFTA and lost out to something else.
What's a film? If someone said to you, kind of, tell me to watch a film that has just got great sound in it, what would you say? What's your suggestion for a film that's like, wow?
Suggestions are Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan. God, that's great. Baby Driver. That's an amazing film for sound.
That's Julian's film. I've just did an interview with him.
Oh, that was brilliant. Wall-E. Wall-E was a brilliant animated. The sound on that was brilliant.
Haven't seen that.
Oh, it's just brilliant. So those are the three that I would say go and watch. They're all very different as well.
Circling the dream. Have you ever had a nightmare client, and how did you cope with it?
Do you know what? I was trying to think of this last night. So I've done this job mixing for probably 26 years, and I think I can count on the fingers of one hand nightmare clients. Really rare, thank God. Really rare. I guess it depends what you mean by... So I've had nightmare clients that are just horrible, horrible human beings, and they're the worst. They're the worst. You just have to grit your teeth and go over it, and just look at the clock as it slowly ticks towards whatever time you're finishing. There's nothing much more you can do. I've never shouted at a client or told them to get out. I've heard of mixers that have. I've never done that. But then you get the nightmare clients who are nice, and one I did recently, remain nameless, but just can't make up their mind about anything. Yeah. And I did and it was a 30-minute or 42-minute, whatever, normal Channel 5E type thing, and it took 5 days.
No.
And someone else had track laid it. So there'd been 2 days of track lay, and then I did 5. It was booked for 1 day. Obviously, that's all it should have taken. 5 days we took mixing it. The guy was lovely, though. The guy was lovely, and I got on with him well, but it was the most ridiculous mix I've ever done. It was like he just didn't understand the concept of time.
No,
and
I've had that.
And then I came to do EP 2, and because I think it was 3 EPs, and I was absolutely dreading it, and he'd been fired. He didn't turn up, and I went, somebody else turned up, I went, who's that? And he went, oh yeah, what's his name's been fired, so obviously they fired him, when they were like, what, 7 days for a 42 minute?
Interesting.
Oh, that was a nightmare.
I remember you once having a client actually at Nats. I won't say who they were. In fact, I can't even remember their name. But it was a film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, I forgot all about that. See, my memory has wiped that. You arsehole, you brought that back to me for me to relive. I remember the name, I remember the film, and I remember the director. Yeah, I remember them all. That was a nightmare. Oh, I forgot all about that.
I remember seeing you after the sessions, and you were not in a good place.
No, I wanted to leave the trade. That film is I think is the very film that stopped me ever wanting to do dramas or film. That experience. Because it was awful. And I don't think in any way every experience is like that. I think I was incredibly unlucky that my first film I did was with... There was nothing wrong with the director. He was all right. It was the editor. Biggest a-hole I've ever worked with. Yeah. I'll tell you when we're off. When we're not recording.
Okay. Yeah,
yes, that was a horrible experience. And I went to do the final mix at some big... I don't think it's even there anymore. Some big... It was in an alleyway between, like, where you would go from Soho Square to Halo, and you went down somewhere, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
And I worked with a kind of legendary mixer at the time, who's now sadly passed on, and he was the one that sort of saved me, because I had cue sheets, because I'd printed out cue sheets, I was told to, and I hadn't put, like, leader tone on the start or something, which I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what's leader tone? And the editor went mental at me in the thing. It was just me, an assistant sound guy, the sound editor, the sound mixer, and the director and the editor went mental at me, and this mixer went up and said, get out. I always remember it, and he went, what? He went, get out, to the editor, get out. Nobody shouts at my team, get out. Kicked him out. And I was like, wow. And then they brought the film out and it died.
It'd be interesting to look on IMDb now and see whether that editor ever did any other shows.
He did. He went to America and did some stuff over there. Yeah, nothing massive or famous or anything, but he loved himself. He really loved himself.
Oh, that's really interesting. Look, thanks for doing it. I really appreciate it, Graham.
No,
it's really good to hear what you've gone through and your experiences. I'm sure they'll be very useful.
Hopefully.
And I hope things pick up with your freelancing soon.
Right.
Take care.
Brilliant.
Good to see you.
Bye.
I know. Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Graham's always good value for money, unless, of course, you're hiring him to mix a film for you, in which case he's terribly expensive. Anyway, there's lots more of these interviews coming up in this particular season. Please hit the subscribe button, the notification button, like button, and I can let you know as and when things are ready to watch. Again, if there's anyone that you'd like me to speak to, anyone you'd like me to reach out to, or any questions you'd like asked, just send me an email and I'll do my best to get hold of them. The next one in this series is Julian Slater. Julian is an audio professional who worked in the UK for many years before leaving to go to LA, and he's become very successful over there. He talks about the differences between, the US and the UK, which is really quite interesting. And of course, he's always a fun guy to listen to. So I'd love to see you then. Please join us for the next one. Until then, bye-bye.